Hello to all my stitching friends and subscribers. Well, I'm back again with my cross stitch project, and I'm working on Aurora cabin by Dimensions. It's one of my favorite ones because, I mean, well, you know, just look at it. It's beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. And it's taken me roughly about a year to complete. So that's working on this as well as other projects in between. So the way I started working this one is I finished the whole of page 1 and then I started onto page 2, and that just seemed to make more sense to me rather than sort of be working with 2 pages on and off. It just made more sense to complete one before moving to the next, and that made sense. But I mean, you can always start in the middle of your design, probably somewhere around here, and work outwards. It's entirely up to you when you come to do this kit. I'm more of a methodical person, so I sort of prefer to do things in rows or in sections as opposed to sort of cross-country everywhere. Having said that, these trees give you little scope for doing anything methodically. These trees are going to be sort of all over the place. There's so many colours in these trees. And I think the last time I did this video, I was somewhere up here, or I was trying to start filling in these trees, this section around here, and I've actually managed to finish this, which I'm really pleased about, because I was actually finding this area a bit daunting, to be honest. It really was. I think it was, for me, the whole counting aspect of it required a lot of attention and a lot of focus. And I know, right, I mean, just look at this area here. If you're going to make a wrong stitch somewhere here, it's not going to make a huge difference. The only difference in making a wrong stitch is that it just throws you off the rest of the pattern, because if you do an extra stitch, then you've obviously, when you come to count around it, it's not going to make sense. And that's when it all starts to get confusing. So I try really hard to focus on what I'm doing and not go wrong, which, you know, obviously there are times when you're just going to go wrong no matter what you do. But anyway, we got there in the end. So I'm really pleased with how this is coming along now. And I've had loads of questions about this one. Loads of people have sent me messages or texts and said, you know, how do you do this? How do you do that? I mean, there is a method that I use, but I don't like to put that across as being the only way to do things. Obviously, I do what's easier for me. You've to find your own way of doing things, and what's easier for you might be different. And I will sort of be talking about this a bit more now when I come to do some stitching. I did run out of some of the colours, and I'm going to show them to you in a little bit and tell you which ones I ran out of. But that doesn't mean you're going to run out of the same ones. But I think by telling you, it'll just make you aware in case you do come to that particular colour and find that you have the same problem. It doesn't necessarily mean you will, but I'll just put that information there, or maybe I'll put it in the comments, in the description down below, so you can see which ones I've had to order a new colour for. Bear in mind that Dimensions use their own threads. They do not use DMC. So when you buy a substitute colour, or when you buy a colour that you want to match, it is going to be a DMC substitute. It's not going to be the exact same. And I substituted some of this dark navy in the sky with a DMC, and I could not get a complete match. And I had to use the next best colour, which I did. And if you look closely, you will see that there is a shade variation. But I mean, I don't really care. I just think that once it's up on the wall and it's not noticeable, I don't think, even looking at it now, you can really tell. Once it's up on the wall, people look at the overall thing. People don't stare at one particular area when they're looking at something on the wall. They're just taking in the beauty of the whole thing. And I think you'll find that, you know, a slight shade variation isn't going to be a huge deal. But again, you know, you've got to go on your own judgment with things. Some people seem to mind it hugely. I just think I don't want to spend weeks worrying about locating an exact match. I don't know whether Dimensions will still send you extra threads. I've read in a few forums that they don't, that they've been taken over by a different firm, and that they're no longer sending extra threads. So I don't really think I'm going to bother. I'm nearly finished this pattern as it is. So that's my take on it. And well, thank you for joining me. I'm going to do some stitching now, so it'd be great if you want to stay and keep me company and chat. I really do enjoy my stitching sessions. So I'm really excited, like I said, to have got down this far, and today I'm going to just continue a little bit along down here, because it's probably been a while since I got back down to this section. I've been so focused on coming down this way, and there's a little bridge which I think is lovely. So I'm just going to get my threads and prepare my thread, which I have here. So my next colour is a purple, and it's one strand. The thing with using one strand is the subtlety factor. When there are 6 strands in play, it's something that's supposed to make it look kind of bushy and more apparent. But when you're using one strand, it's more like a reflection. So the one strand is not meant to be hugely noticeable, but all the same, it just adds something. And you'd be surprised, right? When you're doing 2 or 3 stitches of just one colour in one strand, and you think, what's the point of this? Well, there actually is a point. It all comes together. And, you know, if you miss that out, it does make a difference to the overall effect. I'm just going to look at the chart and see how many of these are. So this is a full cross I'm doing now with a purple colour, and it's just a full cross. So I'm continuing along at the bottom here. Now, another question that I was asked was about the blending filament, and I think that the blending filament really does add a lovely shine. The blending filament is used up in the Northern Lights section further up, and it really is just an overlay. So it's just the one strand going over the half stitch. Just that simple, one strand. So what I do is I do the whole section first in the colour that it asks you to do, and then I do the overlay, which is the blending filament. Some people hate it. They think it's really awkward to work with. I don't mind it too much. It's a bit sort of plasticky feeling, so it can be difficult. It's not that smooth. But there is not a lot of area that you use it in. There is very little. So once you get it out the way, you know, it's great. So I really have pushed forward with the trees here. They were the ones that were giving me a bit of a headache. And I actually heard somebody say that they would gladly do this one again, having already finished it. Now, I think for me that sounds like torture. I think once I've finished project, I do not want to do it again. I'm sorry, but I do not want to go through. As much as I've enjoyed the process, I absolutely do not want to go through it again. Not, especially not after I've just completed it. If it's a small little thing that takes a couple of weeks, yeah, go for it. But something like this, that's, you know, it's been a real journey. It's like when you get to the top of the mountain, do you really want to climb it again? The same mountain? No, you want to see a different mountain, obviously. You want to see a different view, a different landscape. So yeah, basically, you'd have to pay me a lot of money to do this one again right now. Maybe in 10 years time, I'd be more inclined to think about it. Now see how the one strand here, I don't know whether it's possible to see that on the camera, but it's just a subtle pink. It's not a subtle purple, actually. It doesn't have that thickness that these black half stitches have that are so kind of bushy, that lend that kind of bushiness to a tree. I love how the picture just sort of develops. I mean, it really does have like a 3-dimensional feel to it. Really is. I actually think this is one of the most beautiful dimensions charts, and it just would be a shame to not actually do this one. It really is worth the result. And also it's got some kind of peacefulness about it as well. I mean, just imagine myself in that cabin right now. Even during lockdown would be great, just to be in that cabin and log fire burning, reading books by the fire, doing cross stitch. That just sounds like heaven to me. It really does. So how has your week gone? I always like to ask when I'm doing my videos. How is everybody doing? How are you feeling about your cross stitch projects? Have you lost your stitching bug or mojo, as they call it? I tell you what, I've had a funny week because normally when I'm doing one of my projects, I stick with it for a little while, a few days, and then I might change and rotate to something else that I'm doing. But there was one day this week that I was actually doing all of them one after the other. And I think it might be because I felt a little agitated. I don't know what came over me. I've had a difficult week, really, because the whole homeschooling thing has been a bit of a nightmare, and trying to get my son engaged with his schoolwork at home is a real challenge. So I've been a bit agitated trying to do that. And I've also been feeling a bit unwell in myself at some points. So I feel kind of, yeah, I think that is the right word, just agitated. And when that happens, I'm not, I just keep switching things around. So I'm kind of watching TV and then I keep changing the channel. I can't just engage in something and focus on it for a long time. I'm sort of flitting around. And I don't know whether that's just pure nervousness or just trying to get myself balanced, or it probably just anxiety as well. So I'm working on one of my projects, and then I put it down and think, oh, I'll work on the other one, and then I'll work on the other one. And I'm just switching them around like a mad woman. And of course, it just looks crazy because they're all over the place. And my husband comes in and says, I thought you were doing the other one a second ago. And I say, well, I was, but now I'm doing this one. And then he'll sort of leave the room. Then he'll come back an hour later and I'll be doing another one. And he'll say, well, how many are you doing today? You're doing all of them? And I said, yeah, I'm doing them all this evening because I don't know why. I just feel a bit agitated or frustrated. I don't know. But maybe just because I want to get a bit of progress on all of them as well. So that's the other, it's kind of flip side of having too many projects. If you have too many projects, you're going to get moments when you just want to be seeing some progress on all of them. But obviously you can only work on one at a time. So it just drives your mind a bit loopy sometimes. Okay, I just had to take a little break there to grab a coffee and have a little sip because you get real thirsty when you're cross stitching. And look how lovely this mug is. Same sort of blues as we've got going on here. This is really like coming, you know, once you've done the trees and it's all sort of erratic and mad. Now you get to this part here, which is so smooth and linear. So you've got these lines going across. It just feels like everything's calmed down. Like the peacefulness you get after a storm. But I don't think it's going to take too long to finish this chart. There is some backstitch to do. And I think I mentioned in one of my other videos that I had actually lost an original sheet of paper because I work off photocopies. So what happened was that I'd lost page 1 original chart, and when I'd finished doing page 1, my photocopy, when I'd completed the photocopy chart and I'd put Sharpie pen all over it, I threw it away. But you wouldn't have been able to see the backstitch on that anyway because it was covered in Sharpie pen. And then I went looking for my page 1 original and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I know I've put it away for safekeeping, but that's exactly what happens when you put things away for safekeeping. You never find them again. But I do have page 2. So I thought maybe I could ask somebody online to give me page 1, but again, that's not the right thing to do for copyright issues, blah, blah. So I changed my mind on that. And so I thought I would just sort of wing it. And then once I've done the backstitch on page 2, I would just wing the backstitch on page 1. But when I wasn't actually looking for it, lo and behold, I found my original page 1. So that's a good outcome. And that was a nice surprise. I think always when you're actually not looking for something is when they're most likely to appear. Because I swear I turned the house upside down just to find that page. And it was such a lot of time spent. So next time I put something away for safekeeping, I think I'm going to have to write a note somewhere to say where I've put it. It's so easy to store things away and never find them again. Because I'm one of those people that put things in different places all the time. I put something in one drawer and then I decide a month later to put it in a different drawer, and then I can't keep track of where things have gone. So how am I doing here? 1, 2. So I'm not sure how easy or difficult the backstitch is going to be. It doesn't look too difficult. The backstitch on these rocks are something called couching. I've never done that before. So I will attempt it, and when I get to the backstitch part, I will come back and talk about couching these rocks. If I just move the camera a little further down like that, you can see them here. And I'm going to have to look and see. So there's a back sort of stitch that goes over this rock. And I think what happens is that you place the back stitch over this rock and then you put a few stitches in place to kind of make it rounded. Something like that anyway. So I'm going to have to look at that in a bit more detail. I've also decided not to do all the French knots on this one because French knots are a nightmare. And I just don't think I have the will to live if I do all the French knots on this. And I think it's lovely just as it is. So I'm prepared to be French knotless with this piece. My Lowry stand has really done a good job of holding up this piece. It's clamped at one end. If I can move the camera, you'll be able to see. Clamped at this end, and it's holding this rectangular way. And look how well and sturdy it is. I mean, it's pretty well fastened there. And I can move it backwards and forwards to get up and down. So I find them fantastic for that. It is a bit fiddly to actually try and attach a clamp to the stand, but I think it works out great. Holds my tablet really well. I can follow Pattern Keeper at eye level with my work, because before I was using Pattern Keeper beside me on the couch, and I was leaning down to look at the Pattern Keeper all the time, and it was hurting my neck. You'd be surprised, you know, it just takes a couple of days of doing that and you can actually damage the muscles in your neck, really cause some inflammation. So I wanted to get I just want to be eye level the whole time, including when I'm looking at my tablet. So when I've got my tablet on the side, I don't have to worry about looking down all the time and straining my neck in that way. So do be careful, because it's so easy to strain your back and your neck. You just, you know, try and sit in a really upright position with some cushions, no slouching, and try to, you know, start off with a good posture. Be aware of it, because I suffer from a lot of lower back tenderness and soreness, And also my neck as well gets very tense. If I get stressed, all the stress goes to my neck and I get tension headaches. And you know what it's like when you get a tension headache? You're just pretty much useless. And you can't even do your cross stitch when you get a tension headache, so it's just not worth it. So I try to invest in stuff that will help me avoid those things. I still get them from time to time, but I think the tension headaches now are going to be more due to environmental factors rather than cross stitching. So that didn't take too long to complete a whole row, and I think it just continues on. So I have a couple of my projects in my living room which I work on sort of on rotation, and then I've got a couple of projects in the bedroom which, if I'm lying in bed and I think, oh, I want to do some cross stitch but I can't be bothered to get out of bed, or I'm too tired to go rampaging around the place looking for my threads and stuff, I've got a nice plastic box beside my bed, and it holds two of my projects. It doesn't fit this Q-snap frame size, but it does fit the 11 by 11 size projects, so I can put two of those projects on the 11 inch by 11 inch frame into my plastic box, and that's beside my bed. And then all I need to do is reach down, pick up my open my little plastic box that's beside my bed, and pick my projects out and work straight away. And I have a little light that I plug in beside the bed as well, and I can clip it to here. So I'm literally all set up for bedtime cross stitching. How romantic is that? And also, here's a tip, because I find this really useful. With every project, I have one of these with all my threads, a pair of scissors, or a marker pen. Depends on whether I'm doing pattern keeper. So I've got the Sharpie and I've got all my thread. I know this looks a bit untidy, usually it's tidier. And or the other box, which is all like divided into segments. So I've got one of these and my project, and it's all kitted up for each project, so I don't have to go looking for scissors and I don't have to go looking for a Sharpie pen. I've got everything like duplicated with each project. It just saves so much time, because I used to be going around in circles screaming, where's my scissors and where's my Sharpie pen? Now I just buy a whole bunch of them and I kit up each project with a box of everything I need, so it's just ready to go. Don't have to go searching for anything for any project. It takes a bit more time to be organized like that, but inevitably it saves time. So if you take more time to set things up, it'll save time in the long run. So I'm just going to get to the end of this thread, and I think I'll give this one a break after that, because I have some stuff to do, and I think I've got good progress done now on this. Really pleased with how much I got done this week. I'm itching to finish it, not because I'm in a race or feel like I'm in a hurry, but also I just want to see the whole thing done. I just want to see how lovely it's going to look when it's all finished. Although I won't be able to get it framed in the short term until, you know, all the shops and everything start opening again, but it'll still be nice to see the overall picture, the actual finished result. It's amazing how much you can squeeze out of a thread on your last few stitches. Just keep going there until it pops out of the needle. Oh, well, that's good because I only have yeah, this line goes on for quite a while. Well, now I've got this far. If I've made a mistake anywhere, there is no way in hell I'm going to be unpicking it unless it's hugely apparent, which I don't think any of it is, to be honest. So it's all going to stay like this. I don't think there's many mistakes apart from that big mistake I made at the edge, which again I found an alternative solution for, which saved me a lot of unpicking. I don't think I can squeeze, maybe one more stitch, but that's about it. I can squeeze one last stitch in at the end. And that's it. I'm going to finish my thread at the back. And that's it. We are done for today. So that's my stitching session. Well, I'm really pleased with how it's going, and hopefully I get a lot more done, a little bit more done the next time I come back with this one. I hope you have a great stitching weekend anyway, and I hope that it goes well for you and that you enjoy the projects you're working on. And if you've got any questions, put them down in the comments. And also I love to hear about how you're getting on with your works, whether you started something new or you're continuing with your current projects. It's always great to hear about it. Thanks once again, and I'll see you soon. Take care.